3D common polygons. Now, a lot of people have seen 3D and they're like, oh, the movie's in 3D or it's three-dimensional. What that means is it actually does mean three-dimensional. Hopefully I spelled that right. And by 3 dimensions, they mean this. They mean you have length, you have width, and you have height or depth. So 3 dimensions, these are actually dimensions. You would say length is a dimension, width is a dimension, and height is a dimension, H-E-I-G-H-T. I hope that's clear. Anyway, so 3 dimensions, that's what it means, is you're going to have length, width, and height, or depth. That's another word they like to use, height or depth. So when we're looking at this, you're going to have to look at it like it is three-dimensional. It's hard, though, because you are looking at a piece of paper, and by looking at a piece of paper, three-dimensional shapes can kind of be a little screwy with your eyes. Now, let's look at a couple of the vocabulary words they have set up for these. You notice that this one's called a rectangular. So it's going to have the vocabulary that a rectangle would have. A rectangle says that one side, the length of that one side is the same as the length of another, and that the other opposing length is the same as its opposing. So you can do just straight up rectangle. If I was looking at this thing face on, you'd say that. Now, let's talk about there is another thing. Not only do we have length and width in this, and if I want to, I can call this length. I'll call this width. You also have something called depth or height. Now, it depends on what you're looking at and how you look at this shape. I could call this depth if I wanted to say, oh, it's moving backwards, and call that my H or my depth. It does depend. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll say, well, when we look at a shape like this, what we do is we look at its base. And it's, again, you're going to be looking at it kind of screwy. And I'm going to say, look, this side here is the same as this side here. I'm going to draw the floor. I'm going to try to draw in the floor of this shape. And that this angle here, or this line, this length here, is the same as this length here. And I would say, if I could draw in, I would say this, again, it's screwing with my eyes. I bet it's screwing with yours too. It's hard looking at these. This would be the floor. Now, sometimes they call the floor, when they see the floor, they'll say, look, that's rectangular. And I'd say, yes, it is, because it's rectangular every face. Face meaning a side. You have how many sides, how many rectangular sides? You would say I have 4 rectangular sides, a bottom, a top, and 2 sides. So when they look at this, they'll say, well, this would be the floor. Now, height, that would be considered this, from the floor going up. Now they would say, well, that I would consider height. So it depends on how you're looking at this. It doesn't really change many things about how you look at it. As long as you can label your length, your width, and your height, and come up with your area. Well, normally we wouldn't have area for these kinds of shapes. You would be dealing with another thing called volume. So with volume's talking about all the space inside a shape. Like if I was going to fill this rectangle up with sand, I would say, how much sand can I fill in it? That would be volume. And that's what these 3D shapes usually are talking about. And that's when we would see 3D shapes. They would be asking us questions about volume. Okay, how much can I fill? How much space can I fill up? So when it comes to these shapes, again, you're going to see common names like right. Remember the right? It means a 90-degree angle. And I bet you can see it. Do you see it there? Again, it might screw with your eyes a little bit to look at it. So I don't really want to go too much into it. I just want to define the words a little bit. Here's a nice one. Here's a new word. Most people understand this word. This might be a new word for some people. The word is cylinder. Cylinder is just like a Coke can. You'll notice you have a top, a bottom, and you have the wraparound, the sides. Pyramid. It is exactly what you think it is. It is a pyramid. And pyramids have four sides. So you're talking about something that has four sides that look like triangles. And a base. The base is usually a square when it comes to a pyramid. It usually has a square base, and then you have your four triangular sides. Look at your other thing. Cone. Cone means like an ice cream cone flipped over. The base, this is the bottom, is in the shape of a circle. And your top kind of tapers off, kind of like a pyramid with all the sides shaved a little bit. Then you have another word. This is the word sphere, and its idea is like a ball or a globe. You are definitely looking at a circle. You see that, how they have that in there? So when you have this, there is definitely going to be some circle attributes to this sphere. Again, when you see something like this, a lot of times we're talking about volume. So when these 3D shapes come up, a lot of times the questions will be about volume itself.